Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Understanding Your Bill with Niner Central. My name is Taylor. Just a few housekeeping things. Please do note that all questions and answers will be taken towards the end of the session. We will allow Niner Central to go ahead and get their presentation out the way, and then we will do question and answer. The chat function is off and we cannot see you. So if you're raising your hand or trying to get in contact with us that way, we cannot see you. So please go ahead and just use the question and answer section if you're having any issues. And I will go ahead and send it over to Tyler.
Great. Thank you so much, Taylor. And thank you so much for everybody coming today to this special session. I know this is a different setting, and normally we would be set up on campus and having you all in a big room and be able to chat back and forth. But we are in a unique setting right now, and I know you all have busy schedules. So thank you for taking the time today to meet with us. And I appreciate you also going ahead and sharing a lot of your questions that you had beforehand. Those are very helpful, and I think we'll be able to identify and answer a lot of those questions today during the session, as well as after the session. We'll have plenty of time for those questions we can continue to answer for you. I know some of this information today, it might sound a little bit repetitive. You might have heard this in previous sessions. But today we are going to have the ability to dive deeper, to look at some different tips and tricks for handling some of these scenarios that you'll be encountering through the upcoming year. So thank you both, students and families, for coming out today. We're thrilled to have you here, thrilled to have you to start this semester here at UNC Charlotte. My name is Tyler Smith again. I'm an associate director in Niner Central. We are basically a one-stop center here on campus. We're located in the Cone Center. You see our main highlighted information right here. So we are located in the Cone Center on campus. You can't miss us. We are actually right near the Atkins Library. You will probably familiarize yourself with the library here on campus pretty quick. It's one of the tallest landmarks on campus, so you can't miss it. We are in the Cone Center right beside the library. We are available to assist you 24/7. You can reach us online via email. We also have a great website at ninercentral.uncc.edu where you can students can get 85% of their questions answered. But we are here to assist you with anything else that you may have regarding your billing, your financial aid, your registrar related questions. We're here to connect with you so we can answer those questions. Of course, we are, like many of you probably, we're teleworking right now, so we are available via email, via phone, and we hope to be back in the office on campus to assist you come August. So we'll definitely be there. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But again, if you're in the scenario where you need some additional help, feel free to email us. We're even available to set up Zoom meetings with you. So if you have like a more confidential situation, or if you just need some more information, it might take a little bit longer to discuss, we can definitely set up time to do like a Zoom meeting with you. And we're available to do that on Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 to schedule that in for you. So totally understand if that is needed. When we respond back to you, if you're calling us, you're emailing us, our goal is to get back to you within one business day. During our peak times, like in August, September, January, it might take a little bit longer for us to get back, but we're striving always to get back in touch with you regarding your questions within one business day. So again, we are a centralized location here at Niner Central, and we're located in the Cone Center on campus, and you see our contact information on there. So as we start to dig deep into financial aid, understanding your financial aid, understanding your billing questions that you have on here, we want to be able to get things started with making you aware of what FERPA is. So FERPA is the Family Education and Rights Privacy Act, federal law that protects the privacy of the student records. So if you're trying to obtain, your questions about financial aid, your questions about billing and payments, your registrar related questions, as a parent or a friend of the student, we cannot provide you that information unless that FERPA has been granted to you. And as a student, it's your responsibility, if you want someone to assist you with paying your bill, having access to your financial aid, assisting you through the process, that you do have to authorize that parent, guardian, or friend to have access to your account. And that is all encompassed through the FERPA on there. So it's definitely, this is your starting point. You want to ensure that you've set up the FERPA process, signed it, so your parent, guardian, friends can have that special access on there. So how do you do that? How do you go about setting up that FERPA so they can help with the questions that you may have? It's Guest Access Portal. It's an online access that allows you as a student to grant that parent, that guardian, that friend access to your student account. It's a simple process. You can set it up in 5 minutes. As a student, you can go on there and you can indicate that you want this parent, the guardian, to have financial aid access, student account access, whatever it may be. There's several checkboxes on there that you can designate which one you want them to have. You can choose to have all of them on there. You can only choose to have one. It's up to you. It's your information on there. But this better equips us to help your friend, your family member, whoever it is that you want to have access to their account. A passphrase is required. So if you set up that guest access portal, that parent calls in, has questions about your financial aid, we verify that they are on your guest access portal, and they have to identify a passphrase that you all both have established together that will allow them to have information to your account. So just keep that in mind as you're setting that up. Under that FERPA umbrella, along with the guest access portal, there's the Authorized Payer portal. So this is a little different in the fact that this only allows that person to have access to your student account information. So it only allows them to see like your payments, your charges, making payments, some payment plan. That's all covered under the Authorized Payer. So just keep in mind, these are all under the FERPA umbrella, but you first have your guest access portal, and then you also have the Authorized Payer portal, two different things on there. So just keep that in mind as you're setting everything up, getting established. Highly recommend that you take note of this now and you go ahead and set it up if you know you're going to have that person assisting you along the way and wanting to be able to help you with payments and looking at your financial aid and registrar related questions. So billing and payments, what does this look like? To give you an idea, each bill that you get for the upcoming fall semester, you'll start to see billing arrive come July on there. And we bill on a monthly basis. So if there's an outstanding balance on your account around the 15th of each month, that's when you're going to be able to see that information on your account, when you'll be charged for it. For the upcoming fall, the state of North Carolina approves tuition and fees right around mid-July. So once you get registered for classes, if you're registered by then, that's when you would start to see these charges. What do those charges look like? Well, first of all, it's going to be your tuition and fees. They're going to see your tuition and fees on your account. If you're living on campus, then you're going to also see your on-campus housing charges applied. If you have a dining plan on campus, that will be applicable as well. And then finally, your health insurance premium. Those are the main things that you're going to be able to view on your account. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the health insurance premium in just a minute of what that looks like and the option to decline that if you need to. So, viewing your e-bill, where you'll view your e-bill is through your UNC Charlotte portal as the student on there. As the authorized payer, you're going to be going through your authorized payer portal. Here's an example right here of what that looks like for the student. So you'll see your information there in the middle of the screen, my student account. You can view your account, your statements. There's an icon on the right under quick links that has the banner self-service. That is one of going to be your key go-to places on your portal. So just to give you an overview, and you've probably seen a lot of this already, but this is going to be where you have access to everything that you need to see as far as viewing your financial aid, your billing and payments, your registrar related questions and issues. It's all going to be housed here. So talking about billing and payments, what we're looking at is a cost of attendance. This is your budget for the upcoming year. So a lot of these things on here, you see like your tuition and fees, they're going to be direct charges to your account. Some other things might not be direct charges. This would be like your miscellaneous fees, potentially your transportation fees. Things like this, these are all part of your budget that we have to consider for the upcoming year. So right here is just a sample of what you see as a North Carolina resident for the upcoming year, whether you're living at home, whether you're on campus, or whether you're off campus. And again, these budgets are set up and approved each year based on the guidance that we receive from the North Carolina General Assembly. All this information can be also found on our Niner Central website. You'll be able to view all the cost of attendance information as it applies to you. So again, these figures right here are going to be for you as a North Carolina resident. This next slide is going to be for your non-resident. So if you're a non-resident, you're going to see the different changes. Living at home's a little bit more there. Same with on campus and off campus. So that gives that distinction on there. And again, you can visit our website to see more of that. So with all that in mind, talking about those budgets for your non-resident and your resident, you want to ensure, if you haven't already, when you did the admissions process, that you've certified your residency on there. So you want to make sure you get that residency certification number. That will ensure that we know the status of your residency. I've listed here that you can update that through your Banner self-service. Where we just looked at that student portal, you can update that there. You can also find more information through our residency website link here that will also provide the state residency determination office's contact information. So if you're in a scenario where you've made a transition from out of state to a North Carolina resident, and this happened within the last year, that would be that opportunity to see the steps for becoming a North Carolina resident and be charged for tuition and fees as a North Carolina resident. But it's very critical that you know what your status is, and you want to make sure it's active on there. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your residency online as it applies to your billing for the upcoming year. So going back to what we were discussing with the health insurance on there, again, this charge, once you get registered and the fees are assessed in July, is when you'll start seeing the insurance charge on your account. Per semester right now for this upcoming year, the charge for insurance is $1,308.40 per semester on a semester basis. You do have the opportunity to waive this though. So if you have your own health insurance through your family, you might already have something set up, you can definitely go ahead and waive this. You'll see down below, there's a link for the waiver process, and there's also the deadline of September 24th. We highly recommend though that you get that waiver information in once you get registered, once you see the bill on there. That way you don't have to worry about last minute trying to get your charges taken care of and your tuition, your health insurance. Go ahead, if you've got that waiver information, go ahead and submit that once the charges occur, and within a couple of weeks that information will be updated to no longer show that charge reflected on there if you have a valid insurance waiver. And again, please check out the site below, as it'll give a lot more information regarding the process for waiving the health insurance. So, critical dates here, very critical here. When you're looking at the upcoming fall semester, we have 2 payment deadlines. However, I would highly, highly suggest trying to ensure your payment is set up by August 26th at 11:59 p.m. I would not want you all to be in a scenario where, you weren't able to get everything set up by that August 26th deadline, and then come after August 26th, you were dropped from your classes. We will definitely work with you trying to get back into those classes between August 27th and September 15th, that second payment deadline. However, trying to get back into those exact classes you were previously registered for may be very difficult. So I highly recommend, making sure that you've taken advantage of the ways to set up your payments for the upcoming semester, which we'll go ahead and talking about here. But 2 deadlines, August 26th, and then there's that final September 15th deadline for the upcoming fall. And that is the final day to add and drop classes. So tips on getting you prevented from being canceled from classes here. You want to, first of all, if you're in a position where you can pay in full, that's fantastic. If you can pay in full by that August 26th date, you're set, you're good to go. You can also enroll in a payment plan. We'll look at our payment plan option here in just a second. It's a great way. A lot of students and families take advantage of that. And then you also have your financial aid. If you're in a position where you're able to get financial aid awards for the upcoming year, fantastic. We want to ensure that we have those awards in place for you. If you have sufficient enough awards and they're on your account by that August 26th deadline, then you're in good shape. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at all of your options for taking care of your upcoming balance. So the payment plan, how this looks on here. The payment plan is set up each semester. So there's a $55 non-refundable enrollment fee each semester to set up the payment plan. It goes into 5 monthly payments. So let's say, for instance, you're able to get registered for your classes, the bills get assessed to come, mid-July, July 15th. So you would have an opportunity to potentially start that payment plan start in July, that 5 payments. So you could do July 31st, August 31st, September 30th, October 31st, and November 30th. So it's a great opportunity. Just the $55 setup fee allows you to start doing that. By enrolling in that payment plan, that gives you the potential to cover your tuition, your fees, your housing, dining costs, and it goes into that monthly schedule. So just enrolling in that will help secure your classes for the upcoming fall semester. So it's a great option. That will become available come July as well. Once the billing occurs. Obviously you're getting registered here now, but once the billing occurs, you'll see that option on there to set up the payment plan. So getting a refund, if you're in a position where you do have the financial aid and it covers your cost, there is a potential to get that refund on there. So things to keep in mind with that. If you have that overage, let's say, you've got financial aid to cover your balance, you had $1,000 in excess of your charges. You want to ensure that you set up direct deposit. Direct deposit is the fastest way for obtaining that refund. Currently, how you have your account set up now, it does default to a refund check being mailed to you. So if you have that overage on your account, a refund check will be mailed to you after all that has been applied to your mailing address on file. So that might take a little bit longer than that direct deposit. So by going in your Banner self-service, just takes a few minutes, you can set up your routing number and account number for your bank, and that will allow you to get direct deposit. It's really quick, simple, and easy, and you can typically get that direct deposit within 3 to 5 business days. So it's a great option to take advantage of. Title IV authorization. This is a big one. A lot of folks, might not see this initially, but it's a big thing to consider starting out. It grants you permission for your federal aid to be used towards non-institutional charges. So this is strictly optional, but we highly recommend it because you never know when you might have those non-institutional charges occur and you're getting financial aid. So, your health insurance premium, health center charges, you might have to go to the health center once or twice during the semester and incur a charge there. Unpaid parking tickets, library fines. We don't want you to get caught or surprised in a scenario where maybe you're set to get a refund based on your overage from financial aid and you have $1,000 refund coming to you, but you have an unpaid parking ticket. So if that unpaid parking ticket of $40 is on your account and you haven't authorized the Title IV authorization, it would give you the $1,000 check or direct deposit, and that $40 charge for parking would sit on your account. So it would still remain a charge and a potential hold on the account. So please keep that in mind. The steps are here and available to you for completing the Title IV authorization link. It's very simple, just takes a couple minutes. And again, this information will be presented to you after the presentation today. So just really quick and easy steps for completing the Title IV authorization if that's something you want to consider with those non-institutional charges. All right, we're going to transition a little bit right now. We're going to start looking at financial aid. We've talked about what the billing and payment situation looks like. Now we want to dive into financial aid. So there's 4 steps really to financial aid. There's applying for your financial aid, going through your FAFSA application, completing it. There's receiving and accepting your offer, receiving your aid, and maintaining eligibility. How do you keep that aid? And a lot of you have probably already finished your FAFSA application considering financial aid. If you haven't, it's still okay. You can still definitely go ahead and do it. For the 2021 academic year, you can still submit your FAFSA. And by doing it now, we could even start getting you set up for the fall semester. So just know that you still have that opportunity to go ahead and submit it. So how do I complete the FAFSA? How do I get through step 1? You want to ensure that you go to FAFSA.gov to complete your FAFSA. I will tell you, and you've probably already seen this out there already, that there are a lot of sites out there that will charge you $50, $100 to complete your FAFSA, like FAFSA.com, FAFSA.org. You want to ensure that you're going to FAFSA.gov to complete your FAFSA each year. This opens up every October on October 1st. One of the cool things about the FAFSA is, which changed within the last few years, is they don't look at your most recent tax return. It's prior year. So, you're looking at your 2 years ago, your tax information, so you should already have it completed. So, that makes it easy access to have that available to submit your FAFSA in October. Our school code is listed on here. This is also something you'll see on the drop down when you're completing your FAFSA, the 002975, and then you'll sign your FAFSA electronically with your FSA ID and your password. So it's a real simple process. Completing the FAFSA, it usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes on there. So just keep that in mind. One thing I want to indicate is as I mentioned, it's prior year for your FAFSA information. If you've had a situation we all know a lot has been going on right now with the pandemic, and you're in a situation where your circumstances changed and that FAFSA information based on those taxes are not reflective of your current situation, we do have a reconsideration request form, which is on our website, the Niner Central website, under forms, that would allow you to submit that if your job situations change, your incomes change, something's changed with your household. It's an opportunity where you can reassess that information. So just keep that in mind, that what you submit for your FAFSA there is the ability to potentially reassess that if things have changed for your household. So just keep that in mind. So receiving, accepting your offer. You want to ensure, that you've activated your NinerNet account, and then you're able to log in and review your financial aid under that banner self-service icon that we were talking about earlier. UNC Charlotte students, you'll get your emails regarding your financial aid. Once that offer has been posted, you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to go in and accept that award on there, that offer. So you'll see that there's an opportunity to accept the full amount for your loans, partial amount, or you can decline it if you don't think it's needed. One thing is that you want to also ensure is that you're paying close attention to your requirements on your account. So as a student, you want to make sure that you're in there checking in your banner self-service under financial aid for your requirements. The Department of Education sometimes goes through a process with students called verification. About 30% of our students who complete a financial aid application get selected for verifications through a random process. So if you're selected, and some of you might have already seen this, you will see on the requirements, we might need like a verification worksheet to verify your household size. We might need tax information to verify that what you put on the FAFSA application is correct. Strictly a random process, but we need this because the Department of Education has selected you. So this is a process that we typically takes 10 business days to complete on your behalf once we get all of your information. So just keep in mind that things like that, seeing those requirements on there, that they're fulfilled so we can ensure your financial aid is updated in a timely manner. Thinking about that offer letter that you get, about accepting it, the partial amount, the full amount. If you're in a situation right now where you're looking at the upcoming fall semester and you feel like you might only need maybe $1,000 in loans to help you for that semester, well then come October, you're in a situation where you feel like, okay, I should have taken out $3,000. I needed a little bit more. I've had some new expenses that have incurred. I need to take that. We can still help you with that. We have a loan change request form that's available on that Niner Central website that will allow you to update that, allow you to increase your loan amount on there. And that takes about 5 business days for us to review and complete on your behalf. So just keep that in mind. You're not locked into this decision that you make up front right now. You can still have time to adjust that later on. Step 3, receiving your aid. So you've been able to go in, you review, accept, and review your financial aid award. You do need to know that it's 10 days prior to the first day of classes that those funds would disperse to your bill on there. Any financial aid refunds, that come out here for the upcoming year will be go to you during the first week of classes. So that's the week of September 7th. That's when those would start being processed and go out to you. And again, if you have direct deposit set up, it's 3 to 5 business days. So within 3 to 5 business days, you should start seeing that refund on your account, much quicker than going the check route. And finally, step 4, what you want to consider and think about with satisfactory academic progress. This is something definitely you want to consider and think about while you're trying to obtain your degree. It's very critical. There's 3 components of satisfactory academic progress. There's your GPA, ensuring that you're maintaining an overall GPA of 2.0. Your credits, you want to make sure that you're having a 66.6 completion ratio for your earned hours versus your attempted hours. And then maximum time frame. You want to ensure you're within 180 attempted hours so you can continue to receive your financial aid. In order to keep your financial aid, to keep it coming, you want to ensure that you're maintaining all 3 of these components, because if one is off, that will affect you. Another thing to keep in mind with satisfactory academic progress is it's not the same for your academics. So from your academic side of the house, they might require a 2.5 GPA, depending on what program you're in. With financial aid, it's 2.0, and it could be vice versa, depending on your program. So just keep that in mind, that it's totally different from the academic side versus the financial aid side when we're looking at satisfactory academic progress. This process is run every year. So after your grades post in spring and May, that's when we review your satisfactory academic progress to determine, if you're in good standing or not. Categories of financial aid. What we're looking at with financial aid as far as the categories goes, we've got your merit-based scholarships, your different scholarship programs. We have our institutional scholarships that we'll look at here in just a second with the scholarship website. There's also, obviously, you can take advantage of different outside scholarships that are available off campus. There's need-based funding. The most common one that you see based on completing your FAFSA application is the federal Pell Grant. There's also state grants, the UNC need-based grant, and there's also institutional grants. We also have federal WorkStudy, which is need-based, and then we have federal direct subsidized loans, as well as need-based scholarships. Then you have your non-need-based. These are ones showing that there's no need tied to these, and we'll look at these a lot more closer here in just a few minutes. We have your federal unsubsidized loans, your Parent Plus loan, and then the private loan that's totally outside of the Department of Education. They're private alternative loans that you can potentially apply for. So types of aids with loans, three main categories here. You got your federal direct loans, your Parent Plus loan, and your alternative loans. So your subsidized loan is the one that is a need-based loan that the federal government pays the interest while you're in school. So it's need-based. That goes back to where when you completed your FAFSA application, you got an email from the Department of Education saying, here's your EFC, here's your expected family contribution. This subsidized loan is tied to that EFC because it's need-based on there. So what we do, we take that cost of attendance that we looked at earlier, that number, and take your EFC and subtract it from there, and that determines your need. That's your need that would determine if you may be eligible for the subsidized loan on there. The unsubsidized loan is not tied to need at all. The student is responsible for paying the interest while you're in school on that. That's how they really differ. However, the interest rate for both of these are 4.53% for this upcoming year. So just keep that in mind. The biggest difference between the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan is no interest occurs while you're in school with the subsidized loan, and while you're in school with the unsubsidized loan, it does accrue interest. Shifting to the Parent Plus loan. Parent is the borrower on there. So the parent, it's in your name on there, and it is a federal loan. It is owned by the Department of Education. The interest rate currently on that is 7.08%. With that loan, there are a couple different repayment options that they can definitely work with you with the Department of Education as far as paying that back. But that would be the main loan for federal loan through the Department of Education for the parent. Shifting to the alternative loan, which is totally outside of the Department of Education, these are your loans that you might find through your bank, like a Wells Fargo. It might be like your lender, like a Sallie Mae. We'll look at that a little bit more closely here in just a few minutes, but these are typical loans that it's going to require credit base. So if you're a student and you're still working on establishing your credit, it would require typically a cosigner or parent to co-sign with you on that. The rates are the variable interest rates on those because they are subject to your credit. They are subject to your repayment terms on those. So that's just something to keep in mind. One other point I'd like to make too about the federal direct loans is you'll see coming in as a student, whether you're getting subsidized or unsubsidized, it's a guarantee by completing your FAFSA that you will get at least $5,500 in loans, in direct loans. Now, whether those are subsidized or unsubsidized, it varies based on the need that we were discussing. So $5,500 for your first year. Once you transition, get above 30 credit hours for your sophomore year, that increases to $6,500. Beyond that, your junior and senior year, that goes up to $7,500 for the whole year. So just keep that in mind, that those do increase based on, you getting your credits and going to each year. That is something to factor in on that. So that's your three types of aid for loans. So actions required. How do I get these loans? What is the process for me getting these loans? So there's really two main components here you want to make sure to keep in mind is completing the entrance counseling and doing the promissory note on here. This all can be found on studentaid.gov. It takes about 20 minutes to complete both of these. And you'll see a requirement on your account for the entrance counseling, and then we'll see the requirement for your master's promissory note. But you want to ensure that you complete the entrance counseling. This is you telling the Department of Education that you understand what the process looks like for taking out these loans. They'll also kind of give you a situation of what it might look like when you finish school based on how much loans you're taking out, what that repayment might look like when you're finished. You'll see all of that on there. You complete the entrance counseling with that piece, and then you go into the master promissory note where you're signing, acknowledging that you're taking out these loans and you understand the repayment for those loans as a student. So they cannot be dispersed if these requirements are not met. So if you haven't gone online to complete the entrance counseling, the master promissory note, if you haven't accepted your loan awards and your Banner self-service as well, we can't disperse these funds. So you want to ensure that you've taken the step to do that and going through your account and making sure you have no outstanding requirements on there so we can ensure the funds are dispersed. Plus loans. So as the parent of the dependent students, again, you can apply for these plus loans on there. The loans can be helped to pay for your education expenses that might not be covered by financial aid. So if you have other expenses, that you definitely know that are going to be occurring on there, as the parent, you can definitely apply for this. Typically, the turnaround time for this, once you've applied, gone through the process, is about 10 business days. So we try to get that through as quickly as possible. We talked about that 7% interest rate a little bit. That changes each year. But also the Department of Education has a couple different repayment terms as well that will allow you to defer payments until after the student has graduated. So it makes it a little bit easier on there. So just keep that in mind if you are considering the Parent Plus loan as an option. So going back to the alternative loans, the private loan process. Again, this is another opportunity that you can take advantage of. If you might not have the financial aid there to cover the cost, you need something else to fill that gap on there. This is, again, through banks and lenders. We have a great site on our Niner Central website. We have a great tool, the Elm Select Alternative Loan Tool. It'll give you a great tutorial about how to obtain those loans, what the application process looks like. It gives each lender information on there, and it goes over their criteria. Again, we talked about maybe the potential to require a cosigner. If you as a student do not have the credit built up yet, you may need that cosigner, but just keep these things in mind as you're going through the process. And again, like the Parent Plus loan process, if you've applied for a private loan, typically the turnaround time, after you've applied and everything, is about 10 business days in order for us to try to get that approved for you based on what your lender says. So moving away a little bit from the loans and talking about federal work study. Federal work study is a great option that's provided through the Department of Education. You would have seen this option when you completed your FAFSA application. It gives you the opportunity to check yes or no if you would like to utilize the federal work study. As a student, it's totally different than your loans. You don't have to pay it back. So this is money that's paid directly to you biweekly. So if you're eligible for federal work study, we would definitely allocate this funding to you. Now, keep in mind, with federal work study, just like that subsidized loan, your Pell Grant funding, it's need-based. So it is tied to that EFC, expected family contribution, on your FAFSA. So making sure that you've elected, first of all, to choose work study is the main thing. If we have funds available that's given to us, the Department of Education, we will try to award that to you. The minimum wage right now for that is $9 per hour minimum, and you can get awarded up to $4,000 annually. There's also a link for Hire a Niner, where that opportunity is on our website. If you just type in Hire a Niner, that will allow you to also look at any potential student jobs that are not federal work study related. So if there's part-time jobs on campus, you might not be eligible for federal work study. You can look at Hire a Niner, and there's a lot of job opportunities that are on campus that are paid through those various departments on campus that you could obtain funding through. Typically, those jobs post around July. So for the upcoming fall, spring semester, that's when you typically see those jobs. But thinking about the work study, if you're looking at this right now and you're saying to yourself, oh, shoot, I forgot to check yes on the FAFSA for the work study, that's okay. You can go back on your FAFSA, make a change on there. It'll let you go in there and edit it and change it to yes. And then we'll get that updated FAFSA information showing you elected for the federal work study. Again, at this point, we're trying to award as much work study as we can, and there is a long list for work study. So we can't guarantee funding on this, but at least that would put you in that pool to potentially get work study if you haven't already elected to do so. So a lot of things to keep in mind as far as working on campus and as far as their work study, as well as campus-related jobs that are not work study related. Keep in mind too, like I said with work study, it doesn't go to your bill. It goes to you as a student. So you would never see this on your bill. You'll see it on your award information, but it doesn't get applied directly to your bill. It goes to you as a student, just like a normal paycheck. So switching gears here to scholarships, we're looking at our main scholarship site here. This is scholarships.uncc.edu. It's a great setup here because you're applying for scholarships through one application. So it's an easy process. It's really neat too on the site that we have too, because it has the opportunity to apply for outside scholarships. So you'll go through your portal to see what institutional scholarships you can apply for. But on the homepage, we also have a whole list of over 350 outside scholarships that UNC Charlotte has vetted that are reputable sites. So you could apply for those as well. But our institutional scholarships are great. It's easy to apply for. I will say this, one thing to keep in mind, these scholarships, these institutional scholarships are need-based and merit-based. Some might be one or the other, some might be combined. So with that said, some scholarships, you might not see that many available when you first start out here in your freshman year, but once you transition to your sophomore year and start getting to your junior year here, based on your merit, that will start to potentially open up a lot of other institutional scholarships that you'll see on there. So just something to keep in mind when you're applying for that. Again, this is through the scholarship portal. It's not going through the admissions process, 2 different steps on there. So you want to make sure you've done it through the scholarships.uncc.edu. So in conclusion, I know this has been a lot of information. I know some of you had also probably seen some of this information before, so I appreciate your patience. I was hoping we were able to, dive a little bit deeper this time around. And I know that we're thankful, as I'm sure you are too, that we have the time here in the next little bit to discuss your questions. But this is our contact information. This is where we're at. Again, we're going to have folks on campus come August that will be located back in our main office. We're excited to get back to at the Collin Center. Again, can't miss us. We're right beside the library, the tallest building on campus. You've got our contact information here, our phone number. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Online access is there. We even have a chat feature on there where you can submit a chat question. And our main email address. So again, if you're in a situation where you want to sit down and talk right now and you would like to meet somebody in person, but we won't be there till August, send us a request to our email address and we'll be happy to sit down and have a Zoom meeting with you and spend some time with you. We want to get all your questions answered. We want you to be able to be set and prepared when you come to campus here in the fall. So again, I appreciate everybody's patience. Thank you so much for coming out today in this unique setting, and we're ready to answer some questions.
Great. So the first question is, if a student has already set up a parent through the guest access portal, is there a separate setup to be an authorized payer?
There is. So there is the authorized payer setup on there where you would actually go online and you should be able to see it through your banner self-service where you would set up the authorized payer. So it's 2 separate things on there for authorized payer. So the authorized payer, again, is just allowing that parent to have strict access to payments and charges and to setting up payment plans. Whereas the guest access portal, you have an opportunity as a student to select a lot of other different options on there. You could select student accounts where you would have view access, but there's a lot of other options on there too. So there are 2 separate setups on there for guest access portal and authorized payer. But you would actually, that all falls under that FERPA umbrella that we were discussing earlier.
Can the health insurance waiver be submitted before registering for classes?
So you would need to be registered for classes first. They would need to see that you're registered for classes first in order to see that charge on there. And then you should be able to submit that waiver following that. It's a great question.
What are the active dates for insurance?
So as far as if you're referring to the coverage dates for the insurance, that should cover you starting in September when you become a student here on campus, I believe through December. And then you would get another insurance charge that would come up through January through May, I believe. But I need to confirm that. And so let me check back just to make sure that those dates are correct on there. But I believe you're looking at for semester for fall, August through December, and then January through May for spring. But we'll confirm that with you.
Right. Do you pay by the year or by the semester?
Great question. So with paying, it's set up semester based on there. So when you're looking at the upcoming fall right now, your charges, you're being billed per semester. So you're strictly paying by semester. However, with your financial aid, it's awarded on an annual basis on there. So if you're utilizing financial aid to pay for your costs, that's something you're going to be awarded each year. So when you complete your FAFSA in October, whenever you're completing your FAFSA, those awards, your offers that you're starting to see now should be for the entire year. So for fall and spring. So you only have to do that once a year. However, the charges are submitted on a semester basis.
Does the payment plan add interest to the amount you owe?
No, it does not. When you pay that $55 setup fee on there, that is the only fee that's associated with that payment plan. So there would be no other interest that would incur when you're doing the payment plan.
If you decide to pay in full, when will the bill be available on your student portal?
Sure. So when you're looking at the bill on there, you should start seeing, if you're registered for classes, usually right around July 15th is where we get approval from the state of North Carolina to show that bill on your account. So at that time, right around mid-July is when you should be able to see the bill, and then you should be able to go ahead and pay it in full on there.
How do we pay our bill with our 529 plan?
Sure. So 529, we work with all the 529s. I would reach out to your 529 provider and let them know that if you haven't already, that you're a student at UNC Charlotte. They will work with our Bursar office, and they will make that transition from getting to them from the 529 to the Bursar office happen. So as long as they know that you're a student here for the upcoming year, they will work with our Bursar office if you've reached out to them to ensure that they have all the payment information in place. As long as we have that information in place by that payment deadline, we have the funds set up and everything, we can see the funds, and you should be in good shape.
Are scholarships automatically generated?
So yes, so if for institutional scholarships, if you are eligible for one of those, you've been awarded one of those through the institution, you meet all the requirements for those will be automatically generated and you'll be notified of that scholarship. Again, for any outside scholarships, like if you're working with an outside organization, they would need to submit their scholarship information to our Bursar office, to the cashier's office that's located within the Bursar. So they would submit that check information along with that scholarship letter to them to ensure that's posted to your account. So if you are in that kind of scenario where you're coming in knowing you're going to have those outside scholarships from the upcoming year, you want to ensure that that scholarship provider has provided that prior to that payment deadline on there.
Since bills come out before financial aid is dispersed, will we need to defer the bill? How do we do that?
So it's an automatic process. It's a great question. So if we see that you have financial aid and it's sufficient enough to cover your entire balance, that gives us the okay that your bill will be deferred on there. So you won't have to worry about making any payment arrangements, anything like that. If we can see that you have enough aid to cover that entire balance, or if you're in a situation where you have some financial aid, you might be utilizing the payment plan as well, and you've already set up the payment plan too, you're in good shape. As long as we can see that you have enough funding, that automatically defers that payment.
If you miss the deadlines for scholarships, is there any way to apply for any scholarships unclaimed?
So at this point, there is not really a way to apply for any scholarships unclaimed. At this point, if you miss the deadline, they do allocate all those scholarships pretty quick as far as institutional scholarships. So there's really not a way within that same academic year to try to reclaim those scholarships. As you become a student here, get through your first couple years, I would definitely also recommend, though, speaking with your department, your respective department on campus, because they should be posting everything through our portal, but there might be some other opportunities through your department on campus once you get into your degree program that you could check with professors there too to see if there's any other opportunities.
As a parent who will handle all payments for my son's college, can I set up myself as an authorized payer directly?
So it would have to be initiated by your son. Once he initiates it, you'll get an email, and then you will be able to go in and set up your piece of the authorized payer. So as long as a student, starts initiating that, whether it's through the authorized payer or the guest access portal, that will allow you to have access to your student's account and make payments or set up a payment plan, whatever you need to do.
Is there a deadline for accepting federal loans?
So with federal loans, you really can technically accept them throughout the year on there. But if you know that you're going to be depending on those to take care of like your fall tuition, I would highly recommend having your loans set up and in place really before August 1st on there. That way you've been able to accept them, you've been able to do your promissory note, your entrance counseling on there. But if you're in a situation where you don't need those right now, you could wait till after the semester started into the year within this academic year and still technically accept those. That's still an option on there.
What if you are located internationally for the start of the semester? Do we pay before or after the August 26th deadline?
So regardless of location, you would still want to ensure that you've paid by the August 26th deadline. That's the payment deadline for all students on there.
The automatic federal loan of $5,500, will that show up on my student account and need to be declined if I'm not interested?
So great question. So with the $5,500, the typical amount you would get is an incoming freshman. That if you've completed your FAFSA application and you don't have any outstanding requirements on there, that will be automatically awarded to you in offered status on there. So if you choose to not take it and it just sits there, it will just stay. There will be nothing else you need to do. But you do have the option to decline it. So it won't auto apply to your account unless you go in there and accept it. So at any time you can go in there and decline it if you know for a fact you don't want it. But if you're unsure and you might want to make a decision later, you can leave it in that offered status on there. But again, that would show up in your Banner self-service. If you completed all your requirements, you go into your Banner self-service, click on the financial aid tab. Under your reward information on there is where you would see that $5,500. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it would give you the option to completely decline it, accept a partial amount, or accept a full amount on there.
Can you amend or update the parent contribution account provided on the FAFSA?
So you can do that. You can go in and update your FAFSA information if something might not have been correct. However, if you do that, you will probably be selected for verification, that process I was talking about earlier, because we see that there's two different things going on right here. You know, we see that, okay, well, what caused this parent contribution to be this original amount, now it's changed. A lot of times in those particular scenarios too, that would be something where maybe you've had income change that we were talking about earlier. So, you know, if it is a situation where, you know, maybe your job's changed since the last couple months where there's been a reduction of income, in that particular scenario, you wouldn't have to even try to go on to make an update to your FAFSA, but rather you could fill out our reconsideration request form that's available on our website, and then we could reassess it for you. We would ask for some additional information like your most recent pay information, tax information, and then we could help reassess everything for you on there.
Two-part question in regards to insurance. What are the benefits for college student insurance, and does this cover the summer as well?
I believe it does cover the summer, to answer your second question, but going back to that date range, I'll verify that, but I believe it does cover the summer for your insurance. As far as the actual benefits of that, that's something I would go back to that Blue Cross and Blue Shield link that I submitted to you in the presentation, and it should go over all the coverage information. I believe there's a PDF piece on there that will go over all what those benefits entail on there.
Is there an additional charge for choosing to pay with a credit card for your bill?
Great question. So there is no additional charge to pay by credit card. A lot of schools I know have gone to convenience fees that are associated with those payments, but for us at this point in time, there is no additional charge that's associated with a credit card payment.
Can an authorized payer be set up after classes have been registered for?
Yes, that is not a problem. So you can definitely set up authorized payer after everything's been set up.
If a student has scholarship money in excess of the bill and is living off campus, can those funds be used for computers, books, etc.? Does the student need to track this and submit it to the school?
No, you don't need to submit anything to school, and absolutely. If you have excess funds, whether it's coming from your loans, whether it's coming from an institutional scholarship, a non-institutional scholarship, you can use those funds. The only time exception to that would be is if your scholarship provider that you had, and it's rare that we see this, but if you have a scholarship provider who says if this student incurs any excess credit from this scholarship, please send it back to us. But that's rare that we see that. So just keep that in the back of your mind, you know, if you are working with an outside provider, but no, you wouldn't need to record anything to us. So it's absolutely fine to use it towards any expenses that are related to school that you might incur off campus.
I'm seeing a few questions in regards to how scholarships show up on the bill. So can you just provide any more clarification on how students may go about making sure their scholarships are applied directly to their bill?
Absolutely. So when you're looking at your institutional scholarships, where you see like any grants or loans on your screen for financial aid on there, that's where you would also see like your scholarship information. So if you're receiving like an institutional scholarship, you should see that on there in the specific name of that institutional scholarship. If you're receiving like an outside scholarship, that should show up as like a general scholarship on that same screen. And then you should see a payment for that as well once it disperses to your account. So definitely something to consider too. If for some reason, you feel like you've got a scholarship, your scholarship provider has already submitted that to UNC Charlotte, please feel free to reach out to us or email us, phone us, and we'll be happy to take a look at it, because it could be we just received it and we just haven't had time to update it to your account. But we try to get those scholarships on there as soon as possible within a few business days once we've received them at the university.
If classes are online, is there any difference in costs of tuition?
So right now, with everything going on, if you're taking online classes that are built into your main on-campus classes, I know a lot of the classes are hybrid, how they're currently set up right now. Based on the guidance from the UNC General Administration, there is no difference in cost. Now, if you're taking strictly distance ed classes, then these are a little bit different. There's not a lot of those options on there for distance ed as there are the normal classes. They might be at a reduced rate. But in general, if you're taking like hybrid online on-campus classes right now for the upcoming fall semester, they're going to both have the same tuition rate on there.
Does aid provided for military affiliated students fall under the expected financial aid category? For example, if a student received money from CH-35 VA payments.
So you can still typically get the aid as a military recipient. We do have an aid, I believe in one aid restriction right now. We have a tuition assistance grant. So being affiliated with that category on there may not allow you to get that funding on there, but other federal funding you should still be eligible for to get on there. And kind of in relation to that, that's a great question. In relation to that, somebody also, I believe, posed a question related to GI Bill earlier prior to meeting today. And I think someone had asked when and how is the process for getting GI Bill payments to the school and potentially to the student. And the process is if you are getting GI Bill, you want to ensure that you've reached out to our Veteran Affairs office on campus, and they're the ones that would help you through the certification process. So you can reach the Veteran Affairs office at 704-687-5488, 704-687-5488, and veteran service at uncc.edu, veteran service at uncc.edu is their email address. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to get your GI Bill set up, they'll assist you through that process. And then what'll happen is they'll work with our bursar office and they will ensure that you get your funding in typically one lump sum that it will come to the university. So if we see that you are in that scenario, you've already been certified and everything, that will hold your spot. You won't be dropped from classes if your GI Bill has been certified for the upcoming semester. So I think hopefully that answered that question on there, but I'll be happy to share some more if needed on that.
During the presentation, you showed the cost of housing on campus. My student won't be living on campus. Can you talk about the housing costs for this?
Sure. So what we showed again on that screen, which you'll get afterwards for the breakdown for the housing component, it is strictly an estimate on there. So that's just an average for living on campus. Now, if your student is living off campus, we also provided that estimate for off campus on there as well. So where it's different from being on campus to off campus is that will actually be a charge, depending where you're living on campus, will be a charge that will be assessed to the account later in July. Whereas if you're off campus, if you just have your tuition and fees and you get financial aid or you need to make a payment, you're making a payment in full out of pocket, that'll go strictly to that tuition and fees, then it would be your responsibility to pay for that off campus housing. Now, if you're getting financial aid, and it's enough to cover that tuition and fees amount, and there's an excess amount, then you would get the refund and you could just use towards your off-campus housing based on whatever cost that is. Again, that cost of attendance, those components we showed earlier are strictly estimates of what is like an average cost right now for living off campus on there.
Okay, and last question. I will have a second summer session as my first class, but the rest of my classes will be in the fall semester. When do I pay for this?
So that's a great question. I think that was one of the ones I saw earlier too. So If it's a second session summer class, and I believe this scenario, and correct me if it's wrong, but I believe the scenario was you were going to be going to SOAR probably in late June. It is expected that would be paid by the end of June, by June 30th. It was when technically that would be due for that summer class. So that would be totally separate as a summer session 2 class, totally separate from your fall classes on there.
Awesome. Those are all the questions that we have time for today. Thank you, Tyler, so much for knocking all those out so quickly. And thank you all for joining us. Please be on the lookout for any future webinars that we have on Fridays. And if you can just go ahead and put up your contact information one more time, if anyone has any other questions, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely. So again, everybody, this is our contact information right here at Niner Central. It's got our direct number on there, 8622-704-687-8622. If you've thought of something else after this presentation, please don't hesitate to call us or email us. We'll be happy to answer your questions, and I'll verify that insurance on there, but I believe that coverage does extend through the summer, but I'll verify that with you regarding that one question that we had too. But please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be thrilled to help you.
All right. Everyone, you have a wonderful Friday.
Thank you, everybody. We